Yeah. Hey, TFC, what's up? We was back here laughing. we, we was back here laughing like, man, this meditation track is dope. And I don't know if I should be celebrating or meditating right now. It was good stuff though. Look, I am back for Bible and Beyond Live, and I am excited. Y'all come on in and share the stream. We got some good people here with us today. We have Brittany Minor with us, one of our newest members at TFC. Y'all show Brittany some love in the chat. And then we got some of the old heads. We got Myron Randall, we got Tyranny, we got Mama Tony, my old lady Pamela right here. It's celebration month at TFC. We turned 4 this month, and I'm really excited about the great things that are coming up. So all month we are focusing on celebration. Today will be a time to focus on celebration. When we come together next week, we're gonna focus on celebration and Dayfest. That's all we doing the whole weekend. We celebrating, we talking about celebrating, we gonna do it all. So I'm so glad that all of you are here with us today. We're going to go ahead and pray and then get started. Pastor T is going to lead us in our emerging generations moment. But I'll pray for us now. So go ahead and get in whatever position or posture helps you to connect to the divine. God, we say thank you for another opportunity to come together, for another opportunity to grow deeper in our relationship with you, as we grow deeper in our relationships with each other, and as we ultimately grow deeper in our relationship with ourselves. So help us to be blessed by this time today. Help us to be encouraged. Help us to be enthused. And we will always give you the glory. It's in all of your names that we pray. Everybody said amen and ashe.
Amen, ashe.
All right. So Pastor T, come on and give us the emerging generations moment for the babies.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Pastor T. I am excited and nervous to be doing the Emerging Generations moment. This is the first time anyone other than Pastor Harrison has done this. And so, yay, it's me. And so, we're going to start off the way that we always do. If you can, put both of your hands up. And we are going to wiggle our fingers, get some of those nerves out, and then put your hands on your stomach. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more time, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Awesome. And so, as Pastor Christian said, we are in a month of celebrations here at TFC. And so, later this month, we'll be celebrating turning 4 years old. And as I was thinking about celebrations and I was thinking about holidays, like Christmas and St. Patrick's Day and birthdays, and I was remembering a story about my birthday when I turned 10 years old. And so when I was turning 10 years old, I told my mom that I wanted to have a slumber party. So I never had a slumber party before. Like I told her the day after I turned 9 that I wanted to have a slumber party when I turned 10. So I had been waiting for what seemed like forever for this slumber party that I wanted to have when I turned 10 years old. And so as we were getting closer and closer to my birthday, I was like, okay, our house is getting remodeled. I wonder if I'm still going to get to have this super amazing, fantastic birthday slumber party that I've been imagining and dreaming of for the past year. And I was like, my mama is one of those where you can't have company over if your house don't look how your house is supposed to look. So all of these things are going on in my mind. I was like, I'm finna turn 10. She told me I can have this slumber party, but the house is getting remodeled and she ain't even letting my regular friends come over here. I'm definitely don't know if she gonna let slumber party friends come over here. And so I was getting nervous, but I was still like, well, maybe, I don't know. And so then after having all these conversations with myself, I was like, well, let me just go ask my mama if I could still have this slumber party when my birthday gets here. And so I went and I said, Mom, so I know my birthday's coming up and I know we're getting the house remodeled, but I was wondering, like, am I still gonna get to have my slumber party? And she was like, oh yeah, your daddy and I talked about that already. We just gonna do it at the hotel down the street. That way nobody has to be worried about coming to the house and it's all crazy looking and you can still do, whatever it is you want to do. And I was like, oh snap. I'm still getting to have my slumber party that I wanted. It's not going to be exactly the way I thought it was going to be. I get to have my slumber party at a hotel. You can't tell me nothing. I am fancy. I am cool. I am out here living my best life. And so, as I was thinking about these and celebrations, I was reminded that the celebration doesn't always look the way we thought the celebration was going to look, but that doesn't mean that the moment or the event or that whatever is happening isn't worth celebrating. And so, even if you have this idea in your mind about how your celebration is going to go and what's going to happen, sometimes you have to be a little flexible, right? For things to look a little different than what you thought they were going to look like and still be open to being celebrated and to celebrating others and to enjoying all that comes along with celebrations. And so I hope that as we continue this month of celebration here at TFC, you and your family can continue to have conversations about things that are important to be celebrated for you and any celebrations that you have coming up in your home and in your family life, and just talking about all of the things that are worth celebrating about you as an individual and things that are worth celebrating in your community and in your familial unit. And so I hope that celebrations are at the top of your mind all month. And so at the end of our Emerging Generations moments each week, we always do the same thing, right? We say our blessing and we take deep breaths. And so if you would, both of your two hands again, wiggle those fingers, get out those nerves, and put them on your stomach. Put them on your stomach. And so we're gonna take one deep breath in, and we'll breathe out of our mouth. And we'll take a deep breath in again, and we'll breathe out of our mouth. And so, if you would, we're going to do our Emerging Generations affirmation. And if you'll just repeat after me: God made me on purpose. There are people here who love and support me. Today, I will be my authentic self, include someone, and disrupt what hurts others, just as Jesus showed me. Amen and Ashe.
So are we gonna talk about this whole familial unit term you just threw out there?
That's not a Dollar Jar word.
That's a Dollar Jar word.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What?
Really, Myron?
Come on now.
Really, Myron? No.
Okay.
I am very familiar with Dollar Jar words, and that is it.
Those are two regular words.
Now you know how I feel, don't you? That's English, isn't it?
And on this note, I'm going backstage. I'm going backstage.
Are we doing music today? All right then. Well, let's go ahead and move on and worship in a time of music.
Jesus gave to gonna lose its power. It soothes my doubts and it calms my fears. And it dries off every one of my tears. Oh, the love that gives me strength from day to day, it will never gonna lose its power. And I know it reaches to the highest mountain. Oh, yes, it does. And it goes to the lowest valley. Oh, yeah. The love that gives me strength from day to day, it will never gonna lose its power. I know it reaches to the highest mountain. I've been there before. I know that it flows to the lowest valley. Oh, yeah. Jesus, the love that gives me strength from day to day, it will never lose. I know it never will. It will never lose. It can't be destroyed. It will never lose its
Don't do it to me.
Oh my gosh! I messed up.
The atelier ain't set up for that. Not that kind of
Don't do it to
carrying
me.
on. Nope.
This is new furniture. We can't mess this furniture up. Look, I didn't know what we were doing today for music. That just got me feeling good. Did somebody go check on LaShawn over there in YouTube land? Did somebody,
Robert did.
Robert, okay, Robert took care of
Robert
LaShawn.
went and got a blanket.
Good. Get him good and covered up. He done passed out. He done had a Baptist fit. He got to lay down for about 5 minutes.
And a Sprite or a ginger ale.
And we gonna keep talking while he just lay there like we do in church. Oh man, that was good. Shout out to Jocelyn Henderson, who was with us for a period of time during the pandemic. Now Jocelyn is in the DC area. I forget the name of her church, but she's doing great things. as the director of worship and arts for a ministry out in DC. And I want to say hey to everybody who's here with us in the live virtual audience: LaShawn Hoffman, Rob, Marielle, whoever else, Keosha, I saw you in there. Good to see everybody. Tracy, what's up? What's up? It's good to see y'all. If you're with us today, go ahead and say hello in the chat. Tell us where you joining us from. Christ City Church. That's where Jocelyn is. Yeah. Saw Blake in here a little while ago. It's good to see everybody digitally with us today for Bible and Beyond. So we are talking this month and we are observing celebration. If you haven't noticed by now, we generally work in themes at TFC. So we have themes from month to month. And we decided we needed to be very intentional about setting a theme of celebration at TFC because of our identity as a ministry. We do a lot of heavy lifting in community. We're unpacking heavy ideas regularly. We're unpacking them in our connection groups all over social media. When we get together in our gatherings throughout the month, we're unpacking more. We have Bible and Beyond, we're unpacking more. And then I preach and I pull some, abstract thought and try to unpack it when I preach. And it's like, yo, we got to take some time to celebrate. Because it seemed like every month when I wanted to, preach something a little bit lighter, something would happen in society that would unsettle us and needed to be addressed. And we decided if we don't make an intentional approach to embracing celebration, considering the work that we do, we'll never celebrate because there will always be something to unpack. There will always be some problem in culture or society that we need to address. And we got to celebrate along the way. That's the whole point of this month. People who do peacemaking and justice work must intentionally take time for rest, intentionally take time to celebrate. Because if you always get caught up in the work, you're going to have a problem moving forward in a healthy way in life because you'll be all out of balance. You won't have any harmony. So that's why we're doing this today. So today we're going to talk about it through the lens of your lived experiences and also through the lens of the psalmist in Psalm 27. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about my experience when it comes to celebration. Because one thing I've noticed is that a lot of times, and what we'll see in the psalm today, is that even when we're going to celebrate, we can run into barriers that make us reluctant to celebrate. But even when we are made reluctant by barriers, when we remember our blessings, it will make us resilient. And that's the idea that I want to unpack with us today. And I had a situation like that. Now, people that know me well, I'm not really big into clubbing. At any point in my life, was I like a really big clubber? Every now and then I would go. And that's not to say that going to the club is bad. I'm not one of those pastors that's like, remember when you was back in the club?
Yes.
No.
About 2 years ago. I do. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you were in the club last night, go to the club. Go to the club. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. You put yourself and other people in harm's way. But go to the club. Dance. Twerk to church girls. I don't care. Have a good time, right? Whatever celebration looks like for you, please do what makes you come alive. So I've never really been into the club scene. But my 28th birthday, I was single and I wasn't just ready to mingle. I was mingling.
In the streets.
Okay? I was mingling. All right? So I'm turning 28 and I'm like, okay, this year I'm going to do the club thing. And I don't like spending money in the club, but I was like, let's get a booth. I got a bunch of my friends together. We all decided we would go in and I was splitting the event with another friend. So everybody said, yeah, I'll go. We'll split the cost for the VIP booth. Everything will be good. So I showed up. I'm ready. I'm dressed up. I got my portion of the VIP booth. And then I get there. I get to the club. And two of the people in my party hit me up and said, I ain't going to be able to make it. Sorry, I can't come. people who committed their money. So here I am trying to go celebrate my birthday, and the people I thought were going to come through for me call me at the last minute. Now I'm standing at this door and I got to come up with $600 extra. Now look, $600 right now is a whole lot. It would almost knock me off my feet. Back then, 10 years ago, $600 had me questioning my future. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna overcome this. It took me like 6 months to save this money.
Sell a kidney.
Listen, go donate some blood or do something. And that was a huge barrier to me celebrating my birthday that particular night, because I was losing money. I was gonna have to come up with money I didn't really have. But while I was sitting there trying to figure out what I was gonna do about that, this tall drink of water walks up for the celebration. And she was in this, that little black dress, the short one
that everybody has to have.
That had, it had all of this out. And I looked over at her and I said, we can still celebrate tonight. We can still celebrate. Go ahead and run that VIP. Yes, we are very important people tonight. We're going to go ahead and celebrate, because I'm celebrating with her tonight. And that was, to me, that was a blessing, right? To be able to be in her presence.
I was the mingle. Don't get it twisted. He just got done saying he was mingling. I just happened to be in the mingle. Whatever.
It was a blessing. It was a blessing. And that happens to a lot of us, right? Sometimes we are approaching something with an intent to celebrate. I felt like that a lot of times at TFC. And then there's some barrier that makes us reluctant. In this particular month, we want to do our best to push through and overcome those barriers by focusing really heavy on our blessings, because our blessings increase our resilience. So we've talked a little bit about celebration already last week with Tyranny, who led us, and we talked about celebration in general. I want to talk a little bit about celebration, particularly in a church context, for a moment. And I want to hear everybody's thoughts on what it's like to celebrate in a church context. So I want to ask this question first, and I want Brittany. Do you mind answering this question first, since we have Brittany here? Brittany, what does celebration in a church context look like to you?
Honestly, usually when I think about celebrating in a church context, I think about like baptisms, baby dedications, husbands closing doors to keep toddlers out of the room, the announcements for birthdays during like morning announcements. That's usually what I think about. I don't feel like, unless there's like the church annual birthday, like there's not a whole lot of celebrating I really think about in church context. I mean, I guess like you might do something for Christmas, but like day to day, it's pretty small, I would usually think about in church context when I think about celebrations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the reason I ask the question is because everybody's going to have something different. Church celebration looks different for everybody. And for those of you who are with us in the virtual congregation, I want to hear your thoughts in the chat. What does celebration look like for you in the church context? We're not talking about for TFC as a whole, but for you. What does church celebration look like? So, Brittany, I appreciate you sharing that. Myron, what about you?
And I think about this in multiple ways. So the first thing, my church growing up, we would celebrate church milestones. So church anniversary would be a huge thing. The guest choir, guest soloist, the guest preacher would come in, and that would be the most exciting time of the year. And I left that church and went back to coastal kind of new young age kind of thing. And so for us, for that church, New Year's Eve was the celebration. And so this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at the time. So we would have the church service, which would end like around 12:30ish, right after the New Year. And then they'd turn off the lights and they'd play like some secular but safe secular music. And we'd like do the bus stop and all this kind of stuff. And we would celebrate the new year. It was just the coolest thing in the world. And then when I moved here to Georgia, I went to this mega church that had 5 generations together, right? And so they would celebrate these generations, and they would play music from each one of the generations. And the music would go from the Temptations all the way down to Lil Wayne. And one year, it went viral because people was like, why they playing that secular music in church? And they celebrating and dancing because it was so foreign to everybody else. But we had a blast, right? We could play Lil Wayne in church. I'm good with it. And that's celebration. That's my little context for celebration there.
I love it. I love it. Pamela says you took her idea. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you better call them people at Uverse. They not doing you right.
Am I shaky again?
Uverse not doing you right, Randall.
Oh, mighty God in heaven. I'm telling you, listen. Oh, the way, oh, mighty God. Let me tell you. I'm going to say this live on the internet. Uverse, your days are done, okay? Your days are done in Jesus' name, all right?
Oh, so sorry.
Oh man. I want to check out what Ariana said over in on YouTube. Ariana said fundraising is where her mind went when she thought about celebration, but she also considers all the things that Brittany said true for her as well. Pamela, what about you?
Well, I of course thought about annual celebrations like pastor's anniversary, church anniversary. But what Myron brought up is the church that we used to go to. So when I was introduced to the church in 2008, the church anniversary for 2008 was the first time I had experienced that at that church. And I remember the songs were BBD, Poison, Nobody, something Swagger Like Us, whatever that song was. And then they played Funky Good Time. And I remember how the energy felt because it wasn't a thing of, we just did this for the young people. It was like they found a way to fuse that celebration and make it be enjoyable for every single age generation. And every time I think about church celebration, my mind automatically goes back to my former church and how we did that every year. And you had to wear a certain color because your generation had to stand up when it was your time to, like, do your dance.
I just want to point out how they played me in my generation when I was at that church, because I was an old millennial. So, like, I'm a geriatric millennial. So I'll be in there, like 30 years old with a bunch of 10-year-olds. And it would be time for the music from my generation. They be playing SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, what am I going to do with this? I am a grown man. Don't you dare disrespect me like this. Mom, what about you? What does celebration look like for you?
Well, now I'm in the same category as Pamela. Y'all took all the different ideas that I also had, but I did think of one thing in particular that we used to do at our church. We used to celebrate good grades, and so when kids would at the report card time, they would bring up their grades to the pastor, and they would get money for their grades. So for every A, you got $5. For every B, you got $4. Every C, you got $3. If you got a D, you owe some money. You got an F, you owe $5. But it was a great celebration to the kids and to those, and it also gave incentive for them to do well in their grades because they know that they're gonna at least get $20 out of it if they make an A. So then of course you had the birthday celebrations and anniversaries and all that. But I thought the grades was a really unique celebration of our kids.
Absolutely. I put in the chat, I love those Sundays. And I fall in line with Marielle on this one, right? When I think about celebration in a church context, I'm thinking about the celebratory nature of my worship tradition. Like, so I'm thinking about the strong vamp on the song. I'm thinking about the musicians thumping. I'm thinking about the singers singing. I'm thinking about people in the room standing up, waving their hands. I'm thinking about the mother over there in the corner who every now and then have a Baptist fit and go, ah! You know, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the that one lady in the church who had a hard life. So every time she come to the church, she like come to buck, and she over there in the corner like this. The whole time, yes. Right? That's how I grew up, right? So one of the biggest like influences in my life was Gordon Humphrey Jr. He pastored Olivet Institutional Baptist Church in Oakland, California. And every time we had a chance to go to Olivet, Lord have mercy, I look forward to it because they were going to shout every single time. We were going to bump every single time. And as a kid, that was just so exciting for me. It was fun. Just all the energy in the room, everybody having a good time. It was so much fun. And I have looked forward to that type of celebration for a long time. And moving into this space of ministry where we exist, it's kind of shifted that a little bit. Like, I still look forward to it, but I approach it differently. Like, there's some things I'm working through in how I embrace celebration in this space, which brings me to my next question before we go to our break. I want to ask you, what barriers do you guys face? Do you all face when it comes to embracing celebration in a church context? Or if you don't have any, then cool. But if you have barriers, what barriers do you face? Mom, oh no, Pamela, you go ahead. What barriers do you face?
In a church context, when it comes to celebration, if I feel like the energy isn't genuine, and whoever is leading us in the celebration is performing in a way that's not genuine to what's actually happening in the room. So a bunch of, come on and stand up. Come on, stand up. Come on. Look at the person. Is the person next to you standing up? That type of thing annoys me really bad. Even if, you know, I've enjoyed the service so far. If there's one person that comes out and does that, it just like, it throws off the energy. Or like I remember times singing on the praise team and the worship, we would be having a really emotionally high moment energetically, and somebody would come out on the stage with the energy of a turtle, you know, and the whole vibe, wouldn't it? It would immediately, it was like somebody sucked the air out of the room. So I don't, it's hard for me to celebrate when somebody's energy is just like disingenuous. That messes me up.
Yeah. Yeah. Blake said he doesn't like that either. And I'm right there with you. Don't try to manipulate people. Yeah. Don't try to fabricate energy. If you have energy, have it.
Right.
And exhibit it. But don't try to make it up so I can like do what you tell me to do. Nah, don't do me like that.
And I'm uncomfortable with when people are leading worship in whatever capacity, trying to make everybody do the same thing. That makes me really uncomfortable because everybody's worship expression is not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Brittany, what about you? When it comes to celebration in the church context, do you face any barriers to engage that type of celebration?
Initially I thought of like when I was younger and they would do something and they'd announce things and then they'd expect you to stand up and just feeling embarrassed, like, why are you calling me out like this? But I think, and then the other thing I thought of was like when the church would try to do celebrations that related to more secular holidays, but it was like never what you wanted to do. Like, we're going to do something for Halloween, but you're not allowed to dress. You can't wear anything scary. You can't wear anything provocative. Like, I mean, not that productive, but like, you can't be in something sleeveless. Like, who wants to do that for Halloween? Like, those were kind of the things I thought of in terms of like barriers to celebrating in a church context. But I agree with Pamela about when they try to like force a vibe that's not really happening, that always makes me uncomfortable in any setting.
Yes. Yes, we're going to do an altar call at the end of Bible and Beyond today for all of those who had to suffer through Hallelujah Night when you knew you wanted to be trick-or-treating. All right? Everybody meet us at the altar as soon as we're done tonight, because y'all know y'all wanted to be trick-or-treating. Don't act like you didn't. And if and for those in the
I need group therapy. Altar call ain't gonna get it for me. I need to sit with some people.
Right. Myron, what about you? Do you encounter any barriers?
You know, I always sometimes am am my internet good? Am I good, y'all? Can you see me? Look at that. I moved to another space in the house. All right. So sometimes self-consciousness would be a barrier for me, right? I never forget, I took a friend of mine to church when I worked in DC. And you know, when you work in DC, you're supposed to be educated and erudite, and you're supposed to, you know, be sophisticated. And I took this friend to church and I was like, Lord, please don't let nothing black church happen in this church here today. Please can we just be normal? You know, God, normal. And soon as praise and worship started, this woman took off running. And when she took off running, somebody else started shouting over here and somebody else started shouting over here. And I said, oh, this is exactly what I was talking about. So sometimes self-consciousness will get in the way, right? What are these people going to think about me if I start to celebrate, if I start to praise God in a way that's authentic to who I am?
Oh my God.
You ain't told no lie. I felt that recently, actually. I'm not going to go into it right now, but I felt that. Because, you know, I'm the cerebral guy, right? Like, I'm the guy that's always thinking. So, like, I'll be wondering if people saw me buck right now, like, just go crazy in this church, how would that look?
Crazy.
Crazy, right. Absolutely.
I learned young, you don't take no dates to church. No, we don't know what's going to happen in this sanctuary.
That
Nope.
made me laugh because I immediately went back to being a kid and seeing visitors come and think, oh God, please don't let this be one of those Sundays. So when you said it I was like, oh God, I remember saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't embarrass us. And it wouldn't even be my visitor.
Yeah. Yeah, Blake said I get annoyed with specified dollar amounts for tithes and offering. Yeah, I get that a whole lot. I don't like the way that's done a lot of times. I understand asking for certain dollar amounts, but it's the way that we frame the dollar amounts that I think can become the problem. And, you know, so that's one of those things in this space that we got to be real careful with. It's like, how do we ask for the money that we need to do the ministry that we're doing without triggering people using tactics that have been used on them in the past? It's like, that's real difficult to navigate. Before we go to the break, Mom, what barriers do you face?
This may be news to some of you, but there are some people in church who have made it their ministry to tamp down anybody who is expressing any kind of celebration at all in church. As soon as the hand goes up or they're talking a little bit too loud, certain people come up and they fanning and they kind of sit you down and they doing all this here and they are distracting and taking away from everything else that is going on in the church. We used to have an usher who was like that. Just Christianity to her did not include celebration. She gravitated more to the suffering of Jesus than to the celebration of Jesus, and would make it her business to make sure that whomever is shouting and whoever is celebrating a little too hard, too loud, not in this place. We got to take them out.
I don't like that either.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Mm-hmm.
I totally remember those days. That's not fun. All right, so we're gonna do our offering and our TFC where you need to be, and then I want to do this with you all. I want to take a look at somebody who experienced some barriers in the biblical text, and I want to give us the only 2 reasons you should celebrate. 2 reasons. I'm only gonna give you 2. That's it. 2 reasons why you should celebrate. But first, we're going to go to TFC where you need to be. Pamela's gonna take it. What we got?
All right, this is TFC where you need to be. August, as we've been talking about, is our month of celebration. We are celebrating TFC turning four. Yes, we are turning 4 years old this year, and we are going to celebrate until we pass out.
Yes.
So this month, the last weekend of the month, will be Day Fest. Say it with me. Day Fest, Day Fest, Day Fest.
Day Fest, Day Fest, Day Fest.
And
You can't say that if we not saying it.
I'm just saying, if you have not registered, gotten your tickets, called your friends, coordinated your plans, outfits, shoes, and hairstyles, you need to get on it because we like 2.5 weeks away. You're going to get left out. So make sure you register. Join us in person. The dates are the August the 26th through August the 28th. We're going to do some community building, some exciting events. Emerging Generations has like a movie planned. I think that that Sunday morning, and then Tierney Saturday morning, and then Tierney and I will be doing therapy and theology, and let's talk about sex brunch. That's going to be really good. And then Holy Smokes is going to have a day party, and you know, anytime Holy Smokes gets together, it is a time. So please log on to the holysmokesmovement.com website and register for Day Fest. Some of the events are free. All of the events do not require registration because we are going to be hanging out and kicking it and just getting to meet people who we've been seeing virtually all this time. So if you just want to come and hang out with us and you're not really in a position to spend money to participate in some of the events, just come hang out. Worship is free. Kicking it is free. You know, you can shake a hand if you want to or not. Monkeypox and COVID are floating around.
Don't hug Doug.
Yeah, don't hug Doug. So, yes, everybody make sure you get your Day Fest plans in order, and we will see you at the end of the month.
All right. Thank you. Next, we got Myron Randall. Take up
It's offering time. Yes. I love offering. So here it is, folks. There's a young boy. His grandmother gave him 2 quarters, one to put in the offering plate and the other to get an ice cream cone on the way home from church. Well, driving to church, little boy was, playing with his coins, excited about the fact that he had this money and he was going to get him an ice cream cone. And all of a sudden, as the window was down, one of the coins flew out the window. And the boy bowed his head and said, "God, your coin is gone. And I'm getting a cone anyway." And that's the story. He lost the quarter, but he got a cone anyway. And that's celebration. That sometimes you lose stuff, but you can get a cone anyway. Folks, it's offering time. I know that wasn't the best joke. That would have failed tremendously, Jesus. But sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's offering time here at the Faith Community. There are several ways for you to give here to the Faith Community. First way to give is Givelify. Search for the Faith Community on Givelify. Tap, give, set up that reoccurring giving. And then is Cash App, which is hashtag TFCATL. You can do PayPal, which also has an app. You can go to the PayPal website. That is a wonderful way to give if that's the way you do it. You can give through our website, thefaithcommunity.org/give. And then you can always write a check to the Faith Community. And this is my personal policy, that if the check has got more than 4 zeros, I will come and pick it up from you. So write a check. I'll come get it if it's got 4 zeros. Folks, we love when you give to the Faith Community because I tell you what, it helps the ministry go forward. It helps us do what we do. So thank you for giving. And we give a special way here. So we say a little affirmation. So if you would, take a look there at your screen and let's say this together. I don't give out of guilt, shame, or unhealthy obligation. I give out of gratitude for what God has given to me. I give because I believe in what God is doing through this community for me and others. I give because I believe that it will come back to me, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I am loved, accepted, and affirmed here based on who I am and not what I have. Thank you for giving today. And Christian Smith, I'm tossing it back to you, sir.
Thank you so much, everybody. take an opportunity to go ahead and give and support the work that we're doing, we're going to jump back in. We might even get done early today. See what happens when I go on
And every
sabbatical?
time you say that, it never happens. It's not your fault. It's just that it's so good. See, fix your face. That was a compliment.
I didn't like the way you said it, though. I just didn't like the way you said
Oh,
it.
gosh.
No. Thinking about celebration, we talked a little bit about what celebration looks like for us in church, because it looks different for everybody. Some people thought about special occasions. Some people thought about personal acknowledgments. Some people just thought about worship from week to week. Some people thought about, hey, every week is a celebration as far as I'm concerned. So it looks different for everybody, which is important to us because we don't ever want to force someone into a mold of celebration. So worship at TFC is very diverse. Not everybody likes to shout and run around the room. And not everybody wants to sit silently and take everything in. We have some of that across the board. So our goal this month is to engage celebration in whatever way is meaningful to us, recognizing that we will encounter some barriers on the way. Our barriers can cause reluctance, but our blessings produce resilience. And I believe we see that in Psalms 27. It's this Psalm of David. It's called a triumphant song of confidence. Many of us have already heard Psalm 27 before, but what I noticed in this particular song is that many times the psalmist in each verse will point out a barrier to his celebration, and then he will point out the blessing that caused him to celebrate either way. And I just think that is so impactful. If you've heard it before, how many of you have heard, the Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? That's church right there, right? You know, we were raised on that one, a whole lot of us were. So what I'm saying here is that for every barrier, there is a blessing. Verse 1, the psalmist is trying to celebrate. Verse 1, the barrier is scary stuff. Because there's something he's supposed to fear. There's something he's supposed to be afraid of. So he's got a barrier to engaging his celebration. It's some scary stuff. But the blessing is that he's got light, salvation, and strength. Or in the New Revised Standard Version, it says stronghold. Stronghold is really important because a stronghold is what is set up around you to protect you from outside attacks. That's important for us because usually we are going out doing the work. We are going out engaging in peacemaking. We're going out disrupting harm where we see it. But every now and then we need to go back into our stronghold so that we can just celebrate and we can be at peace and be at rest, right? We can't always be out fighting. We can't always be out fighting. Sometimes we need to take a step back and go inside the stronghold and just take a moment to recover and regain the energy so that we can continue to do the work. So in that first verse, we see the barrier is scarier stuff, and then the blessing is light, salvation, strength, a stronghold. Go to verse 2. You get the same thing. He says, when evildoers assail me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. So what's the barrier to celebration in verse 2? It's people who intend to do me harm. Anybody in here ever had people who intended to do you harm? That is a barrier to celebration. When you're trying to celebrate and people intend to do you harm, that might make you reluctant to celebrate. But the good news in the text is that they're going to fall. They're going to fail. So even when people are intending to do you harm, you can still celebrate if you can push through that barrier, recognizing that regardless of what they're trying to do, they will fall. They will fail. What was the shout that we did online? God made it fail.
Oh yeah.
God made it fail.
Yeah.
Everything. What was it? The devil tried, God made it fail. Yeah.
That was it.
God made it fail. Yeah, I remember that one. That was good. So there's a barrier and there's a blessing in verse 2. Verse 3, the same thing. He says, though an army should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise up against me, yet will I be confident. He's saying there's a barrier to my celebration, and that barrier, it consists of external attacks. But the blessing is that I've got internal confidence. So even when people are coming against me, ready to attack me, I've got internal confidence that allows me to push through that. And if you keep going down to verse 10, and then I want to get y'all thoughts in a second. I love this one. This is a passage of scripture that has been quoted so many times in so many different contexts. Like, so we'll take up one verse out of it, and this is one of those verses that really blesses me. When verse 10, where he says, when my mother and my father forsake me, the Lord will take me up. So there's a barrier to his celebration right there. The barrier is abandonment, but the blessing is adoption. So even when we are abandoned, there is somebody beyond us that will take us up, that will hold us up, and we can still celebrate even in moments of abandonment. For every barrier, there's a blessing. If we really want to get to the celebration, we can push through some of these barriers. There are things going on around us that serve as barriers, but yet and still, we can still push forward and find the time to celebrate and be at peace. Like, so there's always a barrier. The psalmist here shows us there's always going to be something. If we don't take intentional time to celebrate, there's always going to be something that tries to keep us from celebrating. Always going to be something. So here's what I want to ask. First of all, I've said a lot.
I mean, you don't.
Is there anything?
What you asking us for?
You don't want to.
I'm playing.
Did anything come up? This is going to be free flowing. Put it in the chat if something came up. Did something come up for you? Anybody? No? I'm just talking. Go, Myron.
That felt like church.
I know this feels just like church. I'm trying not to shout here. This is so good. You know what I love about this psalm, and it just hit me as you were talking, is the idea of acknowledgement. That even though the psalmist is having troubles, he acknowledges the troubles as much as he acknowledges the blessings. In some spaces, we are encouraged to be dismissive of the problems that we're having, right? In view of positivity. Oh, you can't talk about that. You got to be positive. But the psalmist says, I'm going to acknowledge my challenges and I'm acknowledge my blessings. And it's only when I acknowledge both that I realize that my blessings outweigh my challenges. So I love that you can acknowledge it and still realize that there's something greater and bigger and better on the other side of the challenge that you have.
Yeah, that's it. True celebration is not rooted in denial. Yeah, so you don't celebrate by denying what you have going on. No, we need to acknowledge all that's going on and celebrate anyway. Because celebration is a gift. Celebration is a joy. Celebration is life-giving. So sometimes we do have to push back. I appreciate that, Myron. I appreciate that so much. Anybody else want to add anything before we move forward to this next question? You still not talking? You're not. All right. So here's what I want to hear.
You know, yeah, I was just kind of in keeping with following the line train of thought that Myron had. And one of the greatest barriers I have is the problem with worrying about what I cannot figure out, and I will worry to the point that it paralyzes me, and I can't celebrate because I can't see past the issues. And it isn't until I acknowledge, Lord, I know I'm worrying. I know I should not be worrying, but then I find reasons to thank God for something that I can thank God for. And that helps to lift my spirit and reminds me I've been in bad situations before and God brought me through it. He's done it over and over and over again. So this time is not going to be any different. And when I start to think like that, and I can then get a better perspective, and I can celebrate for what has been in the past, but also what I believe God is going to do in the future.
But All right, we're gonna go ahead and do the invitation and get up out of here because Mama has shut it down.
You started it.
That was it. That was it. I would love to hear from each of you. Tell me about a time you've experienced barriers to your celebration, and how did you overcome them? And if you didn't overcome them, just tell us that you didn't overcome them, because you don't overcome the barriers all the time. But in the virtual congregation, if you let us know about a time you faced significant barriers in your attempt to celebrate, and how did you overcome those barriers? So I want to ask Brittany. We haven't heard from Brittany in a while. Were you over there thinking that I put you on the spot? Do you need a second? All right, I'm gonna ask Brittany to go ahead and answer that one.
It's fine. I saw it coming. I was thinking back on like just real generic type, well, not generic, but just less in the church context, but just general celebrations where I felt barriers. And so I am a January baby. I'm January 2nd, so right after all the holidays. School's never in session, like, or we come back that day. So like I always wanted to do like fun birthday celebrations, and was just I managed a few, but that was constantly like my sweet 16. It snowed. One person showed up. My 21st birthday, I was home with my parents, and like they didn't drink at the time. And I just wanted to get like a fancy drink, and I was like, I felt shamed out of getting a drink at dinner. So like those are kind of like the things I think of. But on the other hand, like Sweet 16, it did get snowed out, but my friends surprised me with like cookies and cake at school, and everybody sang to me in class. My 21st birthday, I had friends after the fact who told me I was going to a party, and it happened to be a surprise party for me. And I was like, like totally taken aback. And so I feel like that I face barriers sometimes, but they're never, the celebration will still come. And so the celebration can still come usually. So I don't know. Those were like the things that I thought of about barriers I faced to celebrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love it, because you're showing year after year you face barriers, and some years are better than others, right? Some years it didn't look good in the beginning, and then it worked itself out in the end. So that just goes to show that we shouldn't shame ourselves if we can't always overcome the barriers. Every now and then it might get the best of you, and you live to fight another day. You live to celebrate another day. So I think that's a great point that you bring up. Pamela, what about you? Tell us about a time with you.
Well, a friend of mine was having a birthday weekend plans, and she had planned to have karaoke for her birthday. So she went out this karaoke room. She had everybody on her list she wanted to invite. The room was paid for. We showed up. There were a few people missing. One person in particular, we kept saying, "Where is so and so? Where is so and so? Where is so and so?" And we were like midway through our karaoke session, just having fun. And the door cracks open, and it's him and his best friend and his date and another girl. And I looked at my friend, and her face dropped, because she invited him, and then he invited his friends that they had all been on a double date. So this was just going to be the stop where they were going to have all their fun. So everybody knows how protective of my friends I am. My face immediately got all balled up. So now my other friends in the room are texting me, "Fix your face, fix your face." And I'm texting back choice words to each of them, because this boy is messing up my friend's birthday celebration. So she leaves out of the room, and then the next person tells me to calm down. So I get up and leave, because I'm thinking I need to chill out, because this is somebody's event. So I need to get myself together. Well, that fell apart, because I got out there in the hallway, and my friend had called her sister in another state, and she was really upset that he had crashed her party. And I went into full on protection mode. And I was like, you need to tell me right now, do I need to go in there and clear the room out? Or like, you better tell me to chill, or I'm about to go in there and it's about to be on and popping. And she said, nah, I'll just talk to him later. And I don't know if that was because she didn't want to cause a scene or she didn't want me to cause one. It was probably more so to do with me.
Because that's why I be telling you, let me just take care of it later, because she gonna tear up the whole room.
Whatever. I'm really protective about my friends. I am protective over my friends. So she said, don't say anything. I went back in the room. I sat down, and I could not bounce back from that, because I felt like that was so disrespectful and it was so rude. And then I saw in real time how upset she was. So all I could do is focus on getting my attitude together, because I could no longer I couldn't enjoy it after that. I had gotten so mad that it just killed my vibe. And then she was all worked up, and then I was worked up, and then she said, no, it's cool. Just, I'll talk to him later. So I was in the hallway fighting the air. Needless to say.
Yeah. Again, everybody doesn't overcome the barrier every single time. Right? My story earlier about going to the club, I was able to overcome that barrier, but everybody can't overcome it. You got to give yourself grace in your journey. Yes, LaShawn, Pamela is a problem. Myron, tell us about a time you faced some barriers.
So I'm trying to think the best story to tell here. So our family has this tradition of doing birthday celebrations. And it's almost like militant. You gotta have your birthday celebration, right? We get together, we have cake and ice cream, and even if you don't want it, we doing it. So there's no questions and qualms about it. And then I thought about, why are we so militant about this birthday celebration? Well, I don't know if you know it or not, but my family evacuated from Hurricane Katrina. So every time we get together, it is a celebration of the fact that which tried to kill us did not kill us, and we're seeing another birthday despite a hurricane that took out everything we owned. We had to start all over again 16 years ago. All of our houses were destroyed. Our cars were destroyed. We lost all of our clothes. And when we come together to have that ice cream and cake, it's thumbing our nose at what tried to take us out and said, I just lived another year. And so that is us overcoming a barrier with celebration. I keep thinking of those words of the author Anne Lamott, who says that praise is carbonated holiness. I just love that phrase. And that's what it is carbonated holiness when we get together.
Man, don't shout us like you did on Thursday. If y'all didn't see Myron do I Just Need a Minute on Thursday, you should really go back and check it out, because he has been on the roll all week.
And I just yelled in here like we were in the sanctuary.
Right.
Good, I was on mute, because I just yelled real loud.
Yeah, when Myron talk like that, we in the physical building, you can hear in the background, Myron!
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to come to Day Fest. You're going to miss all of that if you don't come to Day
Fest. Exactly.
Mom, what about you? Tell us about a time you experienced barriers to your celebration.
Oh, what I wanted to share, it seems a little heavy, but it was a significant situation for me, and it had to do with grief. And at one point, the grief was so overwhelming that if I was not able to celebrate what I did have, what I've experienced, I would have sunk into the abyss of grief. And I'm not sure that I would have come out of it. So during that period of extended grief, I focused on those things that God had provided me over the years. Thank you, God, that I had my parents for 54 years. A lot of people can't say that. Thank God I had my husband for 36 years. A lot of people can't say that. And I thank God for what I had. And then I was able to thank God for what I was going to experience. I began to celebrate what I was going to be able to accept, to experience and enjoy. And I think about now the celebration of spending time with my grandkids on a daily basis, celebrating their special events that I would not have been able to experience if I stayed in California and they were out here. And that causes great celebration. And when I would um, deal with that grief again, and it still comes, but God helped me to focus on, look at all that I have, look at all I have provided you and continue to provide for you. Celebrate that. And as long as I celebrate that, it gives my life joy and purpose.
Mom, that is so good. Like you triggered a thought for me. I remember when my mom passed away, and Christmas was her holiday. And because it was her holiday, it was ours. And our thing was the Christmas tree. And when she passed away, I couldn't even I couldn't even touch another Christmas tree in an attempt to decorate it. I remember trying it maybe 4 or 5 years later, and I opened up a box of decorations and broke down crying. But there was one year in 2008, I was determined to not spend the Christmas holiday in the bed. And so I made myself think of all of the fun I would have had with my mom and all of the over the top stuff she would have bought for the Christmas tree. And when I tell you I went all over town, all over Gwinnett County, buying ornaments, I bought a real tree. This was 10 years later. And as I put the tree up, I cried, but it was like, it wasn't all about being sad. It was almost like a revival of the holiday for me. And so now at Christmas time, I'm the same way about the tree. I don't care what else does not go up in this house, but my tree is going up, and it's gonna be fabulous because it's like it's bittersweet, but it makes me feel really good to still have that piece of her, to be able to turn it into my own tradition for my family. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mom. That was great. That was great.
Yes, yes. Everybody's testimony has been great. It's been helpful to see how sometimes we overcome them, how sometimes they get the best of us. When we come together and we hold each other up, that makes the journey a little bit easier when you have somebody to take the journey with, right? That's why our faith is not just rooted in our relationship with the God beyond us. It's also rooted in our relationship with the God in our neighbor and the God inside of us. So it's great to have people to take the journey with when we have those times of difficulty and grief and challenge. So I want to drop this, and then we're going to actually get out of here. I promise you, we're about to be done in a minute. I told you I was going to share with you just 2 reasons to celebrate. And I find them actually again in Psalms 27. 2 reasons to celebrate. Number one, your experiences. Number two, your expectations. Those are the only 2 reasons to celebrate: your experiences and your expectations. Here's a reason to celebrate. We see it in verse 6 of Psalm 27. The psalmist says, "Now my head is lifted up above my enemies all around me. I will offer in his tent sacrifices with shouts of joy. I will sing and make melody to the Lord." He's talking about his present reality. He's talking about his current experience. He says, "Now my head is lifted up." In this very moment. Now, okay, let me come at it this way. I'm going to get real deep on y'all. The Hebrew word for now is atah. All right. So when you actually dig deeper into that Hebrew word atah that we have translated here as now, what it really means is now. It means now. It means right now, regardless of what's going on, my head is lifted up because my enemies can't get to me. They've been trying. They've been trying to take me out. Katrina tried to take some people out. Grief tried to take some people out. But right now, I have a real experience in this moment that my head is lifted up. And for that reason, I'm going to give a sacrifice of shouts of joy in the temple when we come together. You have two reasons to celebrate. Number one, your experiences. Number two, your expectations. If you look at verses 13 and 14, these are probably my favorite verses in this particular psalm. This is how he closes it out. In the New Revised Standard Version, the psalmist says, I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I love that verse. I usually read out of the New Revised Standard Version, okay, because that's the one that a lot of people like to go to, because most Bible scholars will suggest you'll get a pretty accurate translation from the New Revised Standard Version that's also in layman's terms so everybody can understand. But in this instance, I need to go back to my roots. I need some King James Version on this one, because in this particular verse, I need that poetic language to help drive the point home. I don't need the exact translation. I know the exact translation is, I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. But when we look at the psalmist's expectations, he says, not just I believe that I shall see the goodness of the Lord. The psalmist says, I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. He says, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and God will strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. You only got two reasons to celebrate: your experiences and your expectations. So even if your experience isn't what you want it to be right now, you can celebrate based on what you expect. Sometimes you praise God based on looking back. Sometimes you praise God based on looking forward. And I want to know if there's anybody in this virtual church that's looking forward to some stuff.
Yes, sir.
That's looking forward to some things that you can celebrate. Here's the point of today's session. Don't wait to celebrate. Celebrate while you wait. There are always going to be things happening in your life that aren't working the way you want them to work. Don't wait till they work out to celebrate. Celebrate while you wait. Because then when it works out, you can celebrate more. Don't miss the celebration while you wait, waiting for it to work out. Celebrate now and celebrate when it happens. Two reasons to celebrate: your experiences and your expectations. Don't wait to celebrate. Celebrate while you wait. Now, if you like what we got going on here,
Sean,
you like,
you need another usher.
somebody can shout an usher. Somebody get him an usher. Yes, Melanie. Look, I can't wait until we get to hear your testimony. Lord have mercy. We're gonna have to set aside some time for Melanie's testimony, and we're gonna shout a while.
That's all we're gonna do for that service. Melanie's gonna give her testimony, and we're gonna sing songs, and that's gonna be it.
That's all we're gonna do. I'm gonna set up a chair and sit right across from her and just ask her questions and be like, "Tell us," and we gonna shout. So if you are, if you've been a part of TFC, maybe you're not so much a member of the church, but you like the content, you like the stuff that we do, and right now you're not plugged in to get any of that information about when we're gathering, and you at least want to know when we're going to gather. We want to extend an invitation to you to do just that. If you like the way we celebrate, if you like the way we do justice, if you like the way we make peace, then you can learn more about how to engage in doing that. So we want to invite you real quick to text this number, 888-901-1131. So text the word disruptive to that number. That's going to get you plugged in. If you've already texted disruptive to that number, you don't have to do it again. Right? You're already plugged in. But if you've never texted disruptive to that number, if we can put it up on the screen one more time. Once again, that's text the word disruptive to 888-901-1131. Now, if you're already plugged in and you're saying, hey, I've seen what this ministry is doing. I've seen what this community is about. And I want to make an official declaration that I'm a part of this community, that this is my tribe. These are my people. These are the people that I'm going to take my spiritual journey with. Then what you can do is become a declared member of the church by just clicking the link that we put in the chat. If you don't get a chance to click the link that we put in the chat right now, you can go to thefaithcommunity.org and fill out a membership form on that website. But it's only going to take you 60 seconds. And then we're going to get in contact with you either way to just find out how we can do life together with you. What does it look like to walk alongside you in your spiritual journey as we do it together? That's the invitation. It's an invitation to love. It's not an invitation to recite a creed. It's not an invitation to like, you can get baptized, but you don't have to get baptized. Have we done a baptism yet? Who wanted? I'm gonna baptize Pamela first. That's gonna set it off. I'm gonna baptize Pamela, and then we gonna have everybody coming to get baptized. You next. Dayfest. We baptizing Pamela.
No, we are not.
Myron, start running the water right now.
I'm ready. My God, take me to the water. Woo! Let's go.
Yes. Yes. So we want to celebrate with you all month. We'll be back here. We'll actually be on Google Meet. So we'll be in our private setting as a ministry, continuing this conversation about celebration. So make sure you join us there. And in the following week, it's Dayfest. We celebrate. That's all we doing. We having a good time. Listen, y'all pray that no calamity happens that y'all feel like I need to address from the pulpit. Please, because I don't want to address nothing from the pulpit in 2 weeks except a celebration. All right. Is there anything that anybody wants to add before we shut it down? Anything?
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, I'm glad.
Reflect on celebration.
I'm glad. That's good. That's good. Let's go ahead and pray as we leave this digital space. God, thank you for what we've experienced here. Thank you for what we've learned. Thank you for how we've grown. Thank you for how it made us feel. Thank you that we have the space to celebrate even in the presence of barriers and troubles, that we can be reminded that we have a blessing that is not just within us, but also beyond us. That's the beauty of our relationship with you, that as strong as we are, as resilient as we are, as powerful as we are as individuals, we still recognize there is something beyond us that can work on us in ways that we can't work on ourselves. So we say thank you for that. Help us to stay in a mode of celebration for as long as we possibly can. It's in the name of the Creator, in the name of the Christ, and in the name of the Comforter that we do pray. And everybody said amen and ashe.
And ashe.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out.